Married men, at what moment with your future wife did you decide, that's it, I'm marrying her? The day she left work early to help me rummage through a dumpster because I accidentally threw my keys in the trash while washing my car. Update, we found the keys, and after searching for 2 hours, everything was going great. I told myself, if things keep going like this, I think next summer I'll pop the question. Then my mother had a stroke. We were all sitting in the waiting room next to the intensive care unit because they only allowed 2 people in at a time. It was my current wife's birthday, a Wednesday, and without hesitation, she took a day off from work to be with me and my family. I left to visit my dad at home, and she came with me. We're Italian, and she brought a ton of food, including lasagna. My father was out of it in the hospital, so the responsibility of talking to doctors and making plans fell on me and my siblings. I went home and poured myself a bit of bourbon. She had already made dinner and sat next to me while I quietly cried. I decided to marry her not based on how good it felt when things were fine, but on how good it felt when things were bad. 2 months later, I bought a ring. When I first told my father I'd started my current wife, he jokingly asked, "What's her name? What does she do? What's her bra size?" I relayed his words to her to prepare her for his peculiar sense of humor, and it cracked her up. When they met, she introduced herself like this: "Hi, I'm Stephanie, I'm a college student, and I wear a size B." My dad was stunned, my mom started laughing hysterically, and I realized I was in love with her. I was 18, just coming out of the dentist's office where they'd had 2 wisdom teeth removed. I was drooling, and my shirt had blood stains. It was summer. My girlfriend was 16 then. She bought ice cream with the pocket money her parents gave her and rode her bike for 25 minutes just to treat me to ice cream and check on me. Even though I looked awful with those blood stains, she gave me a loving look and kissed me. Almost 20 years have passed, and I'm still sure that without her, my life would be miserable without her. During my first week of my work as an EMT paramedic, a patient died in my arms. After my shift, I went straight to my girlfriend's place and told her what happened. I was numb, trying to process what had happened, but I couldn't. I told myself lies. I lay on her couch, and she wrapped her arms around me and lay beside me for 3 or 4 hours while I processed it. She didn't pry or fuss, just lay quietly, holding me. Eventually, I was able to talk. Then my tears came. She cried with me. I felt the world around me was dark and terrifying, but she was my island of light. That same week, I started saving for the ring. 6 months later, I proposed. Next month, we're celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary. I still work in EMS, and she's still my island of light. During our second date, my current wife got an emergency call at the hospital. Her pager kept beeping non-stop, so we rushed to the hospital. As I watched her, I saw how she handled a patient's injury with confidence, calmness, and expertise despite the circumstances. She showed such kindness, care, and other precious qualities. On top of all those virtues, I knew she'd always be worthy of my respect. This fall, we'll celebrate our 24th anniversary. Our wedding is next month. When we'd only been dating for 2 weeks, she showed up with a Batman costume for my cat. She put it on the cat and ran around the apartment singing, "Da-da-da-da, Batman." We went on a month-long backpacking trip through Southeast Asia. On the 3rd day, we stayed at a rundown hotel in Bangkok, and she got severe food poisoning. For 24 hours, she was vomiting and had diarrhea. Naturally, I became her caretaker. I washed and refilled her water bottle, brought soup from a restaurant outside the hotel, kept her company, and, most importantly, I managed the trash bin she was vomiting into. After emptying her vomit bucket in the bathroom for the umpteenth time, I returned to the room and saw her sleeping. I looked at her and thought, this doesn't even bother me. I'm ready to do anything for her. This is the woman I want to marry. She looked awful, covered in vomit, but she was my disgusting, vomit-covered princess. As a teenager, I bought 2 swords for some reason. I didn't throw them out for years. When my current wife agreed to visit, I hid them in the closet, thinking grown men shouldn't have such toys. Sometime later, she was looking for something in that closet, and suddenly I heard, "What the hell are these swords? Why are you hiding them here?" I braced myself for merciless teasing, but she handed me one, took the other, and came at me in a mock attack. That's when I knew I wanted to marry her. I forgot my favorite CD in her car. She didn't like it but put up with it when I played it. One day, we were talking on the phone while she was driving. We said goodbye, but she forgot to hang up. I waited a few seconds and heard her start singing along to one of the songs from that CD. I stepped on a girl's foot at a festival and politely apologized. She accepted, but her drunk friends started yelling at me, threatening to hit me, saying, "You're not gonna hit a girl back, are you?" When she pushed me, my current wife stepped in and punched her so hard her shoe flew off. I thought, yeah, I'm marrying this girl. My dad said he realized he wanted to marry my mom when the first McDonald's opened in Moscow after the USSR collapsed, and she ate 6 Big Macs in a row. My wife and I were friends before we started dating. She had a boyfriend. We often goofed around together. Looking back, I see there was a romantic undertone, but we didn't see it then. You know how you tease your sister when you're 12, pin her to the floor, and threaten to spit on her? You start letting saliva drip from your mouth but suck it back at the last second. God, please let someone say they did this too. Anyway, I did that with my friend, now my wife. I waited too long, and the spit hit her right in the eye. But instead of getting mad like anyone else would, she just burst out laughing. We've been married for 12 years. We were playfully wrestling after a party, both drunk, with friends egging us on. At one point, I lifted her and gently tossed her onto my kitchen table, not sadistically. The table was crappy, we'd found it by a dumpster. When she landed, it broke in half, and she crashed to the floor. Everyone went silent. She slowly got up, turned to me, looked me in the eyes, and said, "Is that all you've got, you wimp?" That's when I knew she was the one. We've been together for 10 years, married for 6, with 2 kids. I tell everyone, if your girlfriend wrestles with you and doesn't hold a grudge, she's the one to marry. We had a long-distance relationship the whole time we were dating, living 3 or 4 hours apart. We met at a concert, exchanged email addresses and MSN contacts, like everyone did back then, and started chatting every day, sometimes for hours. We shared dreams and struggles. I'd drive to her every weekend, sometimes she'd come to me. About 3 or 4 months after we started talking, I was at home playing a video game. My dad came upstairs and said I had a package. Surprised, I went downstairs, and there she was. She decided to surprise me. Without a second thought, I instinctively ran to her, hugged her, lifted her, and spun her around. I felt a wholeness in my heart, like her embrace was all I needed to complete my life. That's when I knew I'd never let her go, figuratively. We've been married for 9 years. I lived in a rundown apartment in New York. When I moved in, the bathtub had stubborn stains. Every girl I dated in the 90s tried to scrub them off. I was young and single, so plenty of women took a crack at it. One day, my current wife came out of the bathroom and casually said, "I cleaned the tub." I ran to the bathroom and couldn't believe my eyes. "You're cooler than King Arthur pulling the sword from the stone. How'd you do it?" "No big deal," she said. I never give up. I realized I'd rather stay home with her, watching silly TV shows or movies, than go out partying with friends. Her organization held a charity event at a bowling alley bar, and she was the DJ. I helped her set up equipment and took guest requests. When we grabbed some fries to eat, she choked, coughed, and suddenly vomited. I instantly cupped my hands and caught most of it. She looked at me with such shock in her eyes. I was amazed at how much I loved her, catching her vomit to spare her embarrassment at work. She invited me to her apartment for dinner. On the way, I stopped by the pharmacy to pick up my prescribed meds and took the first pill. She said dinner would be ready in 5 minutes, but a side effect hit, and I passed out on her couch. When I woke up, she wasn't there. I thought she'd gone to the bar across the street we often visited, but I was wrong. As I was about to leave, she came back with my clothes and toiletries so I'd have something to wear for work in the morning. She'd walked 9 blocks to my apartment, grabbed everything I might need, and returned. That was our second date. A few months after we started dating, she had a nervous breakdown. At the time, it was thought to be diagnosed as bipolar disorder, and she was admitted to a psychiatric hospital. I visited her the first day. She begged me to just walk away and forget her. It was a reasonable advice. We were young, I was 20, she was 22, and we'd only been together for 3 months. Committing to a relationship with someone with a serious mental health condition is a big step. But I didn't hesitate for a second. In that moment, I knew things were serious between us. 2 months later, I proposed. We got married a little over a year after our first date. Tomorrow is our 14th anniversary. She hasn't had a single breakdown since. We both consider it a true blessing, but even if it happens again, I'll be there for her. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new, super exciting discussions. In the meantime, check out our other videos.